this is an introduction to the T-level support offer. Just a little bit of housekeeping at the start. Please keep your mic on mute. Feel free to put your camera on if you wish to, and particularly when we come to the questions at the end, it's really good to be able to see you. If you do have any questions, please put those in the chat and we will come to them at the question and answer session. So thank you. Look forward to your questions. So just a reminder there, please, everybody, if when you're coming in, you could put yourselves on mute, that would be great. So today's agenda, you are going to be hearing from me. I am a Senior Policy Manager at the Association of Colleges, and I lead on T-levels for the association. You're then going to hear from providers. So I'm really pleased to welcome Ashley from Havant and South Downs College and Alex Hayes from Norfolk UTC, who are going to give us some provider insights. My colleague Steve is going to talk about the T-level implementation support offer. We're then going to hear from Paul Bailey from ETF about the TLPD programme and the support offer there for CPD.
Because Libby's saying it doesn't exist.
And then finally, we are going to hear from DFE, the ESFA, in terms of the work that they're doing. So we've got someone who's not on mute. So if you could, if everybody again, if I could just ask you, please, if you could put yourselves on mute, that would be great. And just a reminder too, please, if you could possibly put any questions that you have in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them at the end when we have the question and answer session. So moving swiftly on. A little bit of a reminder, I'm sure most of you on the call this afternoon are very aware of T-levels, but there's a lot going on out there. So first of all, a little reminder about where we're at in terms of T-levels, and then we're going to hear from the providers themselves. So cast your minds back, everybody, to 2016. And you will remember that we had the Sainsbury Review and the skills plan, and the key there was that we were looking at the focus on raising productivity and meeting the skills gap, the fact that the academic pathway, so GCSEs, A-levels, university, was very well understood, and the technical vocational pathway was often seen as being more complex. So that was the very start of the T-level journey, before T-levels were actually called T-levels, actually. So the focus here, we're going to be looking at the technical option. So we've got the academic option, looks at GCSEs, A-levels, university, and then the technical option would be a 2-year college-based or UTC-based or school-based program, including an industry placement. That would be for 16 to 18-year-olds. If students weren't quite ready to embark upon a T-level, they would be able to undertake a transition year. And I think obviously what's exciting is that this year in 2020, we have seen a number of providers up and down the country embarking upon both T-levels and transition. So just a reminder of the rollout of T-levels from 2020. So hopefully you can see there that it's color coded and that you can see when each T-level is coming online. There will be 24 T-levels by the time we get to 2023. And you can see those are spread across 11 different routes. And just a reminder of what the T-level programme looks like. The key difference here to current study programmes is that the T-level programme in its entirety is around 50% larger than current study programmes. The T-level qualification is made up of the core, which would normally be delivered in the first year. It focuses on knowledge and understanding of the concepts, theories and principles that are relevant to that sector, and then is followed by an occupational specialism. And different T-levels have different occupational specialisms and numbers of occupational specialisms. I think the other key thing to note here is that the T-levels do differ in size. So again, it's slightly different from current study programs. A key selling point of the T-level is the fact that it has an industry placement of around 45 days undertaken with an external employer or possibly 2 external employers. And this is a real opportunity for students to apply their skills and knowledge, and really popular with T-level students and with those students who have been undertaking placements as part of the pilot capacity and delivery fund industry placements as well. A reminder that T-levels require students to hold English and maths at level 2. That could be either a GCSE at grade 4 or above, or a level 2 functional skills, so a pass in level 2 functional skills. And there will also be additional mandatory requirements which are occupation specific to each T-level. So I said right at the beginning that we have a number of providers who are delivering T-levels already. So what's the news on T-levels 1 year on? So I think the key thing is that despite the pandemic, and in all honesty, you couldn't have thought of a more challenging environment to launch a new qualification. But there we go. T-levels have had a really positive impact. So most importantly, students really enjoy T-levels, and we hear of really good engagement and attendance, and they really like what they're studying. In terms of staff have enjoyed the fact that it's something new. They've really enjoyed the opportunity through the TLPD programme to engage with other staff, other teachers, other managers from other providers and share good practice. They've also enjoyed being able to feed back to the awarding organisations and the support that they've received. And employers, interestingly, are also excited about T-levels, and we've seen a lot more engagement than we perhaps anticipated, and not just in industry placements. So a lot of positive feedback from employers as well. We do need to consider some of the challenges that we've seen as well. So I think T-levels obviously require a new way of thinking, and this starts internally. So one of the things that we've heard from providers is that it really needs to be a whole provider approach. So that's going to be from your MIS teams to the marketing teams. It's going to involve estates when you're looking at where you're going to deliver your T-level, and obviously the exams teams. It involves business development and engagement with employers, a whole new focus on quality and what quality looks like in T-levels, and then obviously preparing teaching staff. So internally, it definitely requires that whole provider approach. And then externally, it's obviously looking at those key stakeholders. So it's getting out and making sure that parents and carers and young people and schools are aware of what T-levels are, what they offer, why they're different, what the opportunities are, and connecting through colleges, through other providers, also therefore with. Sorry, I think I was muted there just for one moment, but back here again now. So there's also that focus on engagement very much with employers and making sure that they're engaged not just in industry placements, but also perhaps that they might want to give site visits, they might want to come in and give masterclasses, and just get involved perhaps in assessment and finding out more about what T-levels are and the opportunities that they offer. So I am going to stop sharing now. And I am going to pass over to Ashley, who's going to give us a perspective from Havant and South Downs College.
Okay, so hi, I'm Ashley Groot. I'm one of the assistant principals at HSDC. So first of all, I was just going to very briefly tell you why we decided to do T-levels from the start. So HSDC is comprised of 3 campuses. And one of the campuses, the South Downs campus, is purely vocational education, vocational curriculum. And we really wanted a USP for this campus with a focus on technical skills. We also felt it was a real opportunity to revamp and modernise our curriculum offer. And then thirdly, the other reason was we felt T-levels was a perfect chance for us to review our curriculum intent, working with employers really closely to create qualifications that genuinely made our students employable and ready for the world of work. And T-levels certainly do that. So this is going to be a bit of a whistle-stop tour because we've got a limited amount of time. But in terms of some of the things that we did at HSDC to get ready. So you're possibly aware of the implementation plan that needs completing. And this can seem quite an onerous document at times, but we really used it at HSDC as a really valuable working document. So we created a working party from all of the staff that were named on this document. And we met at different points throughout the year leading up to T-level delivery. And this was partly to ensure that all the actions that were on the document were completed, but also it really enabled me to get buy-in from the other teams across the college. As Kath mentioned, you really need a whole college approach. It's not just curriculum. So it enabled me to get buy-in from MIS, exams, marketing, admissions, and so on and so forth. So that was a really valuable document, I think, to use to sort of facilitate that. We also appointed T-level leads. So for each of the first 3 T-levels, we appointed a lead for each subject that had 3 hours away from teaching each week. And those 3 hours were very much focused on getting the delivery plans ready, looking at curriculum design. It was also around engaging with some of the national training events, with the awarding bodies, with the AoC, with the Department for Education. And we really felt it was important to get these key influencers on board in each department so that they could have a positive influence on their colleagues. So that worked really well. Hopefully you've heard of the Taking Teaching Further offer, but if not, I'd imagine you'll hear about that in a bit more detail today. We were fortunate to be successful in a Taking Teaching Further bid, and this enabled us to run a free Introduction to Teaching taster programme to attract experts from industry into teaching. And we were then able to recruit staff for both digital and construction. But we were also able to use some of the TTF funding so that the staff only taught 0.5 in their first academic year. So they had 50% of their time helping us get ready for delivery, and that was really valuable. Again, I think you're going to hear a bit about the ETF TLPD offer. And I can genuinely say this is a fantastic programme. The training needs analysis is something we've used really widely across the college to create individualised action plans for staff. And the Industry Insights programme, which quite a few of our staff took part in, I think that's probably the thing that our staff have found most valuable, the chance to go back into industry, upskill their knowledge of the sector, their technical skills, and so on and so forth. That's been so valuable for staff. So being an early adopter for T-levels has given HSDC a number of great opportunities as well. So one of the things that we did for each of the T-levels, we set up an employer partner board. So we met with these boards at different points throughout the academic year leading up to T-level delivery. And some of the things that we discussed in these partner boards, we reviewed the outline content to get employers' views on the specifications. We looked at curriculum design and delivery plans. We talked about which occupational specialisms we should be doing based on regional need. We reviewed specialist equipment allocation, so what requirements we had, what we should be buying with that allocation. And we looked at the skills gaps that we had in our staff skill set, so where employers might be able to help contribute to delivery. In terms of colleges and the trips, so T-Level has been a great opportunity to collaborate, again, as Kath mentioned, with other colleges and build some really valuable relationships. So we've worked with Fareham College, Abingdon and Whitney, Isle of Wight, Newbury, East Sussex College. We've looked at things like curriculum design and delivery, specialist equipment lists for capital bids, and trips, looking at sourcing hospital placements for health T-Level students, supporting SEN students on placement. So these relationships have been hugely valuable for us and have really helped us address concerns and problems without having to come up with the solutions on our own. And I know some of my staff would also tell you that it's a great form of therapy for them to be able to have conversations about their concerns with colleagues in other colleges. On to the specialist equipment allocation. So this has been a huge benefit to the college because we've been able to purchase equipment such as real care computerized infant simulators for the early years T-Level, digital surveying equipment, AutoCAD and Revit, which are 3D design software, virtual reality headsets. So along with the estates refurbishment from the capital bids, this has meant we've been really able to ensure that we're offering world-class qualifications with state-of-the-art equipment. And I've just got a couple of pictures that I wanted to share with you. So this is the Wave 1 allocation we received. So the top left picture is our construction classroom, top right is our digital, and then the bottom two are one of our early years facilities. So we had 4 new early years classrooms or new refurbishments for the early years. So you can see really lovely facilities. So the students, the staff really feel invested in, and that's really helped, again, help right culture in the college and help T-Levels get momentum. Got one last picture to show you. So this is some of our construction students out on placement. So as you're aware, it's been a challenge this year, but I'm happy to say that every single one of our T-Level students have been out on placement and done done placement hours. So welcome aboard. I can honestly say at HSDC, we've absolutely no regrets at all becoming one of the first T-Level providers. And yeah, it's been a fantastic year so far, and we're really looking forward to the future. So that's my presentation. Kath, back to you.
Lovely, thanks ever so much, Ash. Great to hear from you and to also see your students there. So we're now going to hear from Alex Hayes from Norfolk UTC. Welcome, Alex.
Hi there, Kath, and hello, everyone. Yeah, we're a UTC in Norwich, Norfolk, and our specialism is going to start off with engineering and manufacturing route, and we've got a number of T-Levels linked to that starting in 2022, and then we hope to deliver some other lines in 2023 in the sort of health and science areas. Now, the phase we're at is really well down the line with the implementation plan. And I think Steve's going to have a little bit more detail about that, but I think many of you will be now starting to have a little look at that, about what you need to do. I'm going to share with you in a moment my plan, or the plan we've been working on, but I would say on the outset that this has been a really valuable process for us to put down, because originally when T-Levels came along, we thought, well, you know, we've introduced, as I'm sure most of us have, many courses over the years, and, you know, we can knock that up. It won't be, you know, it won't take us long. But actually, the implementation plan has been a really useful template to go through to get that strategic team together and to work through, so we actually haven't missed anything. And it's proved to us to be a really useful checklist. It's also been really valuable because we've been in a position to get help when we need it. And Steve, through the AoC, has been brilliant in actually organising and signposting that help. And I think has already been mentioned by Ashley, the ETF, the organisational training needs is a really valuable process to go through to find out actually what people know and also what they don't know on that. Let me just share my plan there. Yeah, this is our implementation plan. You get to have a couple of incarnations of this, but it's really helps you to be able to grade where you're at to with each of the stages. So as you go through it, you'll grade yourself on the readiness, your initial return and your final return, of where you're up to for 2023 delivery. As I said, ours is obviously geared up for 22. And in these sections, you'll be able to sort of fill down your position and you'll be able to say what you need to do. Now, there are a couple of things which were really important. We decided we needed to have another conversations about our entry requirements. And I suspect having the discipline of the plan helped us to really sit down and say, right, we need to nail this, because people were sort of thinking, oh yeah, you work that out later, or I think this, or I think that. So it was really helpful to nail a lot of these things down. It also was the opportunity to look at our space. And actually, was it suitable, and could we use it in a different way? And I think, similar to Ashley, you know, we have put in for a T-level capital bid. We've put in for ours, and we'll hope to hear in the next month or so, because that will really help with being able to implement this program successfully. And of course, vitally, we've been able to look at the teaching and learning and actually how we're going to do this. And this has made us sort of focus our mind, and we actually have a member of staff who will do 1 day a week on development time to actually build up on this. So that's those sort of things, and that generates its own development plan, which we're working through. There's also the next section is very much about the management, internal communications, the marketing and that sort of thing. And of course, actually, the marketing comes round frighteningly quickly, because most of us will be putting T-levels in prospectuses, certainly for September. So if we're offering in 22, we're working on the prospectus currently. So it's ready and printed at the end of August for the beginning of September, start the recruitment year. So these things are coming around. So again, as I say, it's very much that discipline to go through and do that. We've worked things around what we call a T-level strategy group. Really, that's just myself as head teacher, the deputy head is responsible for quality of education, and the T-level lead being the core team. And then we can pull in other people to do with marketing or whatever else as time goes on. So that's the next part of the stage. Employer engagement, it's something we feel as a UTC we've done successfully in the past, but equally I think it's an education for the employers we work with to be able to do a longer and sustained placement. We've worked a lot with employers, but actually that 315 hours of placement is obviously a challenge, and that's to get the employers in the right place. But with all these things, it's great to have planned it and have the time ahead there. So again, that yields another action plan there. And not to worry, even that completed plan, which I assume is okay, is 7 pages. So it's not like it's, you know, 233 pages. I'm sure in a moment, Steve will go through a little bit more about the expectations of that. So that's a little bit about our experience there. And I'll pass you back over.
Thanks ever so much, Alex. So seamlessly, we're going to move over to Steve, who's going to give us an overview of the AoC support. Steve, over to you.
Sorry, I just have to come off of mute. Thanks, Kath, for that. I'm just sharing my screen. Hopefully that you can see that. Can you see that? Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. So yeah, hello. My name's Steve Washington. I'm the manager of the T-level support project at the AoC. So it's my job, along with my advisors, to support the colleges in their implementation of, in order to be ready to implement T-levels well, for the current period of time, 2022. So I'm going to just take you through briefly the support package that we have on offer for 2023 providers. So the support package we have, all providers registered to deliver T-levels who have signed up for the support package will be allocated a designated T-level advisor. This person will be the main point of contact for the provider and will communicate key messages from the AoC, from the DFE and the ESFA to the provider, and vice versa. Providers will have access to an online planning tool to support the planning and implementation of T-levels. So this is something slightly different to what Alex has just shown and what Ashley mentioned as well. So we're in the process of devising an online planning tool which everyone will have access to help shape their planning for 2023. So early in September, there'll be an event run by the AoC to introduce the T-Level Planner to providers, and ongoing support in the use of the T-Level Planner will also be provided. Your AoC advisor will review your planning progress from the T-Level Planner and carry out up to 3 feedback meetings per year. Set dates to grant access to your advisor for them to be able to access your planning progress will be communicated, and this will form the basis of the conversations. Along with individual feedback meetings, a series of events are planned for the 2-year period, providing an opportunity to learn from providers in previous T-level waves, to develop planning, employer engagement and industry placement strategies, and quality assurance processes, amongst other topics. A series of local support groups have been planned to take place in 2022 for providers to have the opportunity to learn further from 2020 or 2021 T-level providers. AoC advisors will also be able to set up meetings and partnerships with providers from all waves of T-levels to support you in your planning of your T-levels. And Padlet is an online sharing platform. Useful resources from awarding organisations, DFE and ESFA are stored here for providers to access and download. And we also share the videos of events run by AoC for providers so that they can access these after the event. Thanks, Kath.
Thank you very much, Steve. So we are now going to hear from Paul Bailey from ETF about the TLPD programme. So you've had a lot of very positive publicity from Ashley, particularly this afternoon, Paul. So what can you tell us about that offer?
Well, I'm hoping that I can find my presentation, which doesn't appear. It's going seamlessly, this. It was all going so well till I decided to share screen. Right. Can everybody see my presentation?
That's fantastic. Do you want to put it into slideshow? Fantastic. Thanks, Paul.
No problem at all. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. So as mentioned, I'm Paul Bailey. I am Regional Head of Engagement, specifically for the South East, East and London. And I'm here today just to talk to you a little bit around the TLPD offer, what the Education Training Foundation is doing, and just give you a little bit of an overview. It has already had some very positive comments today, which is fantastic. And it's brilliant to see that it's making an impact. So really, I wanted to start off with our relationship and development leads. So we have RDLs for short, because it's quite a long job title. We have those across the country, and every T-level provider will have a dedicated RDL who will support staff development, signpost to relevant CPD, support CPD days, and help navigate the TLPD offer so that you're doing the most appropriate CPD to support your development. They'll reach out from a way forward perspective. They'll be reaching out to you in the autumn term to arrange an introductory meeting so that you can begin exploring development needs. Also, from the start of the autumn term, you will be able to find your RDL via the interactive map on our website. These slides, the map is hyperlinked on these slides. You'll be able to access it there. So please do feel free to reach out to your RDL in advance as well. So the start of your journey, as already mentioned, would begin with the Organisation and Training Needs Analysis, the OTNA. This is an activity your RDL will undertake with you, most likely in the spring term. So this looks at leadership and organisational readiness, as well as the professional development of the workforce. Following an OTNA, your RDL will then create a bespoke detailed development plan for you, which you can then take through your journey. All TLPD resources are accessed via our online platform, which is the Professional Development Platform. So this is really your one-stop shop for everything TLPD. And once you've registered on the platform, you and your staff will be able to undertake an individual training needs analysis. This will generate a personalised CPD list of courses, activities and resources most appropriate to address your development needs. So the T-level professional development offer within itself is a suite of high quality professional development to support teachers, trainers, leaders and support staff who are delivering T-levels. It includes 6 elements, including understanding T-levels, networks, T-level role and route specific training, professional development for leaders, industry insights, and T-level resource improvement projects. They cover face-to-face live online CPD and also online courses which are available to access. So you can find out a lot more about the TLPD offer and how it can support you on the ETF website. You can also sign up for the TLPD bulletin, which includes the most up-to-date information on the program, what's coming out, what's new. And you can also register on the ETF professional development platform and set up your profile on there, and you can begin exploring some of the CPD that you're able to access. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Paul. Great to hear from you and to find out more about TLPD. So finally, in terms of our presenters this afternoon, I'm delighted to welcome Tracy Evans, who is representing the Department for Education and ESFA this afternoon. Tracy, hello, welcome, and over to you.
Hello, hi everyone. So I'm Tracy Evans and I'm representing the ESFA. I work in the T-level skills implementation team. So we're responsible for implementation of T-levels across providers. So I'm just going to talk today a little bit about funding. So alongside the support that's offered, we at the ESFA collect data twice a year from providers about delivery intentions, and this feeds into the planning for T-levels and how we fund T-levels in the rollout stages. We do collect that data in May and October every year. So for funding, I won't get into the details too much today because I've only got a couple of minutes, but this slide contains a link to the online guidance about how T-levels are funded and how we're funding up front. So you won't be funded, you would be funded in the year of delivery instead of on a lagged basis, which is how we currently fund the 16 to 19. We will of course want to ensure that plans are realistic before allocating funding. So we will review the May data that we collect from you to ensure and test the student numbers and delivery assumptions where we think they might be a little optimistic. For example, a large growth compared to current numbers. And then we will fund T-level delivery for 2023 based on the final data collected from yourselves in October 2022. Can you move on to the next slide, please, Steve? Thank you. So with T-level capital, while we hope to offer capital funding to prepare for delivery in 2023 for buildings, refurbishments and equipment, this is subject to the autumn spending review. So we have no information or dates at present and no information on funding or rules at this point. We have included a link to the guidance for the last round of T-level capital. So if you wanted to have a look, you're willing to explore that and find out what we did last year. But we're always looking to learn lessons and update from our processes with every round. So there will be a new guidance document issued for any future T-level capital rounds. We do have a robust process for testing the need for funding. The delivery intentions, we need to ensure that delivery intentions are feasible, the projects offer value for money to the public purse, and that space will be used specifically for T-level delivery. So there's no automatic entitlement to funding for buildings or refurbishments. So there will be a bidding process, which is the same as we did for the last couple of years. And we have provided equipment for T-level delivery throughout an allocation process, which is where the accurate data for May and October comes into play. And we hope to be able to do so again. So as you work through your T-level planning, we will offer you webinars on things like T-level funding or T-level capital, where we think this is going to be helpful for you. And Kath, back to you.
Fantastic. Thanks ever so much, Tracy. So We now get to the question and answer opportunity. And so we've got our panel of speakers, and we're also joined this afternoon by Deborah Ecott from Fareham College. So we've got I've got a lot of experience around the screen this afternoon. So please do feel free to put in your questions. Tracy, as I anticipated, a couple of the questions that we've already had in relate to funding. I had a funny feeling they would do. So hopefully you've been able to answer Sarah's question, which was when we will be able to apply for capital funding. So you've been able to explain that those details have not been released yet. But then we had a follow-up from Nicholas, who asked about the arrangements for September 22. Nicholas, what exactly was your question? Do you want to unmute and you can ask directly?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to know, when you were referring to the last lot of capital funding, was that for September 22? Was it those bids?
Yes, it is. It's what we class as wave 3, which is the 2022 providers, which we've not actually announced that yet.
So for 23, you're saying hold on and watch this space?
Yes, absolutely, because we normally expect to announce something in the autumn term, but we can't do anything until the spending review, which is in the autumn.
Lovely, thank you. Nicholas, does that answer your question?
Lovely, thank you. Yeah,
fantastic, thank you. And the only other question that we've had at the moment, so please everybody do get your questions in. So you've got the opportunity to ask questions of DFE or current providers, so please do get your questions in. But we've got a question again from Nicholas, asking about advice to schools with sixth forms. So Steve, I'm perhaps going to come to you to begin with on that question. And the support that we can offer in terms of schools with sixth forms.
Yeah. So again, as part of the support program that we offer, we deal with schools with sixth forms, we deal with UTCs, we deal with big GFE colleges. Now, one of the things we've done this year is when we put on events, we've separated events. So we have GFE and GFE college events, and we have schools with sixth form events, because we understand that the provider type is very different, and that small school sixth forms don't have huge big marketing teams, have big employer engagement teams. We understand that they're operating on a smaller scale, so we tend to split the events in order to make sure that we can sort of satisfy that provider type. And then if we're putting in any networks and so on as well, then again we'll very much look at the provider type again to make sure that, if you ask me, I'd like to speak to somebody who's doing something in this, there's no point in me putting a sixth form college in touch with a big GFE college who may be running 15 different T levels when all you're doing is running one. So we're very aware that provider type is important, and we take that into consideration when we're designing our support.
Thanks very much, Stephen. I think it's true to say that obviously in each of the waves there are schools with sixth forms that are delivering T levels. So there's also that opportunity to learn from providers who've delivered before as well. So hopefully that answers that question for you, Nicholas. So we've got a couple more questions. So from Anna, what have institutions set as their GCSE student entry requirements? So Ash, I'm going to come to you on that one.
Hi, so at HSDC, we initially set 5 grade 4s or above, including English and maths. And then I think science for the early years and for the construction. But I think we're going to review those and might move them up slightly, because there's a need for students to have a really good understanding of science and maths, particularly for construction. So we might raise the grades for those. But yeah, as a set standard for T levels, 5 grade 4s, including English and maths.
Thanks, Ashley. Is it fair to say that entry requirements may slightly differ between T-level to T-level then, that you may be changing that?
Moving forwards, yeah, I think so. Once we've sort of got under the skin of the specifications and we know exactly what is needed, certainly I would say that will, like we have with A-levels, where you have slightly different criteria for different A-levels, I think that would be the same.
Super, thanks ever so much. Deborah,
Catherine,
I can see...
Do you want me to come in on that as well? I mean,
yes, please. Yeah, Alex, and then we'll go to Deborah. Thank you.
We've set an average point score of 4, similarly, for T-level entry. However, we've requested a 5 in maths and a 4 in English, and we've requested a 5 in maths, as Ashley was indicating, to reflect that obviously in engineering-related courses, you need to be a bit more mathematical. So that's what we've done at this stage.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alex. And Deborah?
Hello, we are offering on the digital T-level, the entry grade is 5 and above with 5 GCSEs, and this is purely because we actually offer the higher maths and the English as well, because they are A levels and we want them to obviously succeed. What we do say is if they have 4s, we do obviously do the transition, so the 1-year transition that they can go, and then they can go to, and then they can up their grades to a 5 in-house. But it just helps them, especially on the coding sort of, anybody delivering the digital T-level, they'll need a higher level of maths and English as well to articulate it, so especially on the digital side.
Thanks very much, Deborah. So we've got a follow-up question on that one from Wayne, saying, do you feel that recruitment for the T-level will be reduced considering that the condition of funding is grade 4? Ash, any thoughts on that? And possibly what, so I suppose the question is, what happens to your students who might have grade 4s if you're asking for a grade 5? So Deborah's talked about a little bit about the transition programme.
Yeah, I think at an individual level, we'll look at each student's entry criteria and what's right for them. In some areas, it might be that the right thing for them is to go on to the transition offer for a year and increase the grade they've got for maths, for example, while studying the transition offer. It's difficult to say at the moment because we haven't been in that position. I think that the other thing that's caused a little bit of a challenge has been the centre assessed grades, and I think with tags this year. So it might be once everything settles down and gets back to normality, we'll probably have a better view of exactly what we need to do moving forward. So we're in a little bit of flux at the moment, I think.
Thank you. Alex, did you want to come in on that one?
Yeah, just really two quick comments on that. I mean, firstly, yes, I think it's very handy to have that transition programme underneath, because then you can say to someone, yes, we'll take you, but we'll hold hard and fast to a 5 to go onto the level 3 programme. We'll put you in the transition programme if you haven't got it, just to give you a little bit longer. So I think that sort of fits nicely. And the other thing is, whilst it's clearly important to have those minimum entry criteria, I think students have really got to understand what the T-level is, and therefore how you approach the other criteria. So in terms of an interview, in terms of an aptitude test, because the truth is, it doesn't matter if you've got 7 or 8s. If you're not comfortable going to the workplace, if you're not prepared for that sort of more vocational focus, then you're going to struggle. So I think, yes, they're really important to have those academic credentials, but I would ensure that you have some other sort of selection criteria.
Thanks very much. Wayne, we're going to come back to your other question in a minute, but while we're talking about entry requirements, I'm going to ask Deborah about entry requirements for the transition year prior to T-level. So do you have entry requirements for the transition offer?
Yes, so this year we actually went down the non-qual route and did vendor qualifications, and who we were targeting was the ones that had just missed the sort of the 5s. This year we are we're re-looking a little bit like Ashley, really. We're re-looking and evaluating of what's the best for the student, whether that's to put a little bit more coding in, but certainly we are for the transition. We asked for fours. Because it's quite a hard travel from a 3 to a 5. I think it's, you know, even if you are trying to put in, you know, even if you're, you know, they're putting in extra, but if they come with, you know, a 4 in maths and you know, a 3 in English, then, you know, we have certainly taken this year and we've taken on extra. So it does help. I will just say as well, so just this might help anyone. We don't put anyone out to the employer until they have been through the employability program. So they spend 3 months being trained by one of our specialist employability team, and that involves employers coming in, as in virtually, them showcasing their projects and getting used to it, because I think especially sort of the last 2 years as well, where the, you know, COVID has obviously happened, so they haven't been able to, you know, to lead the normal life. So what we've done is we've kind of introduced them to employers, but we don't put them out or even entertain putting them out, because obviously it's our reputation, for at least 3 months. So I don't know if that helps anyone, but I just want to, and that's on the transition, we tend to do projects, but if there is someone that's really flourishing, then again, it's the same pattern. You know, it's 3 months and then we'll send them out.
Lovely, thanks ever so much, Deborah. We are going to come back to Wayne's other question. Wayne, I'm going to ask you to unmute because I just need you to unpick this question a little bit. You've asked, are there additional costs for support? If so, is the training that's provided funded? Is this to do with TLPD?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both really, and for me AoC as well. In regards to training, signing up, registering for courses, you know, most CPD courses external, there's always an additional cost. So my question is in regards to, is there additional funding for that, or is that another cost that needs to be absorbed by the schools?
Lovely, thank you. So Paul, I'm going to come to you first and then to Steve.
Hi Wayne. From a TLPD perspective, there is no charge. It's fully funded by the DfE, so the entire TLPD offer, CPD and everything available is of no charge to providers at all.
And Steve, for the AoC offer?
Exactly the same. Again, we're fully funded by the DfE, so there's no charge for the events. One of the things I will say is that we're currently looking into the situation as to, I mean, currently all our events are delivered online, so there's no cost whatsoever for the providers, but at some stage we will potentially be looking at trying to do some face-to-face events again, and obviously therefore then from a provider's point of view there'll be a travel cost for that, but currently all our events are online and they're all free.
That's fantastic, thank you. So as always happens at these events, we've got questions coming thick and fast now. So I'm going to go to Anna's question, and Anna's question is about how easy have organisations found making employee links? Anna is from a school, not college. Do we need a dedicated industry links person, or can our existing careers person cope with it? Alex, I'm going to come to you first on that one, because you're probably in a slightly more similar situation to Anna.
Yes, I mean, we already did a lot of work with employers, and as a UTC, you know, we had a lot of links with that. I've got to be honest with you, if you are thinking of any scale, then I think it's going to be helpful to have, if not a dedicated person, someone with some dedicated time. You know, we do feel that managing potentially 45 days in the workplace is going to take some liaison. So I think you can be clear about that. There is, I don't know if that still applies, there is some funding available through the development fund, the CDF. So we certainly applied to that, and there was some money which has helped pay some of our costs. But I do think you need someone who's dedicated, or as I said, has some dedicated time.
Fantastic, thanks very much, Alex. The next question, I'm going to come to Deborah and Ashley, and it's regarding retention on T-level so far. So Ash, over to you first.
Okay, so we've currently got 100% on the digital and the construction. We have lost a few early year students, but they've gone to apprenticeships. So our retention's still shown as 100%, even though we've lost a few learners because they're apprentices with us. So on the whole, our retention's been really, really strong this year, in quite a challenging year as well. I think partly because of the amount of engagement we've had remotely with employers, that I think that's really helped. And I think, like I said, partly because the students are feeling really invested in, they've got some fantastic equipment that they're using, they've got really nice facilities. I think all those things contribute to making the students feel that they're on a program that's really valued. So yeah, really positive so far.
Thanks, Ash. And Deborah?
Yeah, I echo what Ashley says, and I feel like it's a bit more of a grown-up course where, you know, it's not kind of, you know, past, you know, it's not like you must hit this criteria, you must hit this, so we have to deliver this. I think because we've been allowed to do it through projects, it makes them feel, you know, I think they learn better, if I'm honest. So the retention, yeah, the same as Ashley. We aren't delivering construction until this year, but yeah, we're 100% as well. So and I honestly think that the buy-in, they're invested, the employers are invested, and when the employers, you know, it just feels a very relevant and mature course that, you know, we're not tied, we can do projects, you know, and, you know, we can let it holistically meet all that criteria and the content areas that are required. So I think it's more of a freedom for the students, and they naturally want to, certainly the students that you know, I lead on, they want to do it.
That's great. Thanks very much both on that one. So Steve, a question for you. When / how does a provider get its designated T-level advisor?
So when once the sign up has been completed, and so at the start of the next academic year, we will get a list of the T-level providers from the ESFA. So we will then allocate our advisors in that sort of August, September time. We will start to allocate advisors to providers, and then the advisor will contact a provider to introduce themselves. Just one of the things I just want to say about the T-level planner as well, and what will happen is the provider will get access to the advisor will give the provider access to the T-level planner, but then the provider will have to grant access to the advisor to be able to read what's on the planner, so that it's not just the advisor just can't go in at any time. They will grant access so that they can see it at particular periods of time.
Lovely, thanks ever so much, Steve. So I think that brings us to the end of our questions. I'm just going to come to each of the panel members in turn. In one word, your key piece of advice for our potential 2023 providers. Ash, you first.
Collaborate.
Fantastic. Paul. You're on mute, Paul.
And I said something really inspirational. I didn't really. Share would be my word.
Fantastic. Alex.
Plan.
Marvellous. Deborah.
Well, I was going to say plan. Collaborate.
Okay, so collaboration obviously key there. And finally, Steve.
Do it early.
Do it early. And sorry, Tracy, from you as well.
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Fantastic. Absolutely. And I think in fairness, that's what we've heard from 2020 providers. They have enjoyed, a bit cheesy, but they've enjoyed the journey. So thank you very much to all our panel members today. And thank you to all of those who have joined us. So this recording will be available for you if you want to go back and see it. And please do be in contact with us if you've got any further questions, and we look forward to working with you over the next 2 or 3 years. Thanks ever so much, everybody.